Alright guys, so today we are going to be doing CHING number 106. So let's get started. The first item that I have is one of those Kraft cheese singles boxes. So you guys know, like, I had quite a few of these and I sold every single one that I ever pick up. This sold for $21.99. Next item we have is a cardboard Christmas tree angel topper that sold for $12.99. What you want, baby? I got a baby down here that wants held, don't you? Here, come say hi to everybody real quick. So Amelia got her hair cut yesterday and got a little shampoo and conditioner. So she's all fluffy and smelling like a little Avon lady. The spray that they put on her is like a very strong floral, like almost like powdery floral smell. I always call her a little Avon lady when I get her back. Yep, can't lay here right now, babe. I'm sorry, hon, I gotta put you back down. But yeah, so she had a really fun day yesterday going to the groomers. Next we have a Goodfellow and Company perfume. This was in the scent Cedarwood Geranium. That sold for $19.99 and I picked that up at a yard sale. I also sold a Victoria's Secret Love Spell Night body spray. That sold for $69.99. That also came from a yard sale and I think I paid about $4 for that. I also sold a floral high neck tank top by a company called Easel. That sold for $19.99 and that also came from a yard sale. I think I paid $1 or $2 for it. Next was a Limax Village piece. This was for a country grocery store. That sold for $35.99 and I do think that came from an auction. I sold a Vera Wang Princess Revolution perfume for $89.99 and that came from a flea market and I think I paid about $5 for that. I also sold a ruffle top by a company called Pole, P-O-L. That sold for $19.99. That came from the same yard sale the other top had come from, so $1 to $2 for that. Next was a Fenton Pink Hen on a Nest, like candy dish. That sold for $39.99 and I feel like that one came from I think that came from a yard sale. I want to say that came from a yard sale where I purchased a couple of Fenton pieces. I also sold an Aerosmith shirt. This was from 2007. That sold for $19.99 and that also came from a yard sale. Next was a Lone Ranger horse. That sold for $19.99. That came from a yard sale and I think I got that out of like a quarter box. Next I have an Isabel Fiore purse that sold for $49.99. That also came from a yard sale and I think I paid $10 for that, I want to say. Next is another Franklin Library book. This one was called The Peloponnesian War. That sold for $39.99. That came from an auction where I purchased a bunch of Franklin Library books. Same with this next one, was also a Franklin Library book. This one was called Last of the Mohicans. That sold for $29.99. I also sold a Bob Mackie gold duster jacket that sold for $39.99 and that actually came from an auction. I rarely see clothes that come up at the auction, but one day there was like a lot of Bob Mackie clothing, so that's where that came from. Next was an Avon Perceive body talc that sold for $5.99. That came from an auction. I also sold, this was by Sunbeam. It was called a Christmas art bulb and it came with an extra light bulb. So when you plugged it in, it just kind of like shone images, I think, like when it was lit up. They were still in the packaging. I picked those up at a yard sale. I think I paid $5 for it all and that sold for $39.99. I also have another Willie Ray figure. This was called Higgledy Piggledy. I absolutely love saying that word, Higgledy Piggledy. That sold for $97. There are some hardcore Willie Ray collectors overseas. I think I said that in like my last video. A lot of my Willie Ray figures tend to go overseas. Aside from like the Thanksgiving ones and things like that. But anything else, they're just all over. So that one was great, and that did come from an auction. I also sold a pair of Crocs sandals. These were in the style called Sanra. Those sold for $42, and they came from a yard sale. I also sold a Jemmy Vanilla Ice Snowman for $49.99. So he's saying like ice ice baby when you press his button. He did come from a yard sale as well. I'd say I paid about $5 for him. This next item did go to a subscriber named Jill. This was for a set of vintage Garfield bookmarks. Those sold for $9.99, and I did get those at a yard sale as well. I sold a Boyd's mini Longaberger bag. That sold for $22.79, and I think that also came from a yard sale. It was a little bear, a little Boyd's bear in a Longaberger bag, like a collaboration type thing. I sold some Anchor Hocking butterfly tumblers. Those sold for $32.99, and they came from a yard sale. I also sold a perfume. This was by Rue 21. It was called Sparkle with Glitter. That sold for $49.99, and that also came from a yard sale. At the end of the video, I actually have something to talk about as far as perfumes and stuff go, so stay tuned for that. Next, I have a Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks. This was a Nintendo DS game that sold for $69.99, and I'm pretty sure that came from an auction. I also sold a Perricone MD High Potency Amine Facelift for $34.99, and that came from an auction on one of the beauty trays that I had won. Next was a little girl's velvet dress. This was a mini Bowden, that was the brand. That sold for $29.99, and that actually came from a thrift store. I had that for quite a while. I sold a pair of holographic flats for $19.99. Those actually came from Walmart. At one point I was doing like Walmart clearance videos, and I found those on Walmart clearance. I haven't done one of those in a long time. Ever since Walmart like redid their app and everything like that, it just became harder to do the secret clearance in my opinion, so I haven't really gotten back into it. Maybe one day I'll try again, but I don't really need to be sourcing at Walmart. Well, there's so many places to source, and I have so much stuff as it is and going to auctions all the time, so I really don't need to be doing Walmart secret clearance, but maybe someday. Next I have a green Asian styled teapot that sold for $19.99, and I think that might have just been something that came on a tray of stuff that I won at an auction. I also sold an Early's Whitney wool blanket for $201. I did get this at an auction. I got two of them. They were brand new in the packaging, and I think I paid maybe $10 a piece for them, or $10 for the both. I don't even remember, but it was an insane deal, and I sold both of those. I also sold a Lush Koi Fish knot wrap. This was just part of my own like Lush collection I decided to sell. That sold for $12.99. I sold a pair of men's Levi's 569 jeans for $19.99, and I have no idea where these came from. Maybe a fill of egg rummage sale, I'm not entirely sure. The next four items all went to the same person. I don't think it was a subscriber. It was just someone who purchased a couple of my Franklin Library books. The first one was the Cane Mutiny that sold for $19.99. They also purchased a philosophical works of Rene Descartes for $35.99. The Barchester Towers for $25.99, and one called Andersonville for $19.99. I still have a ton of Franklin Library books that are still listed, but a lot of them did sell. I also sold an EMF detector for $39.99. This was just a fun find. I found that at an auction. That's where I won it. So yeah, people who like do like ghost hunts and stuff like that use those, so I thought it was a neat thing. I was trying to test it out at my house, but alas, no ghosts. Next we have a Monster High Heath Burns doll that sold for $22.99, and that came out of the tote of Monster High dolls I had purchased at a yard sale. I also sold a Estee Lauder Beyond Paradise perfume set for $99.99 that did come from an auction. Next we have a black cat head. This was a blow mold. This would have originally been on a stick. That sold for $79.99, and that came out of a box that Eric had won at an auction that had a bunch of like vintage Halloween items inside of it. I also sold a Felix the Cat snapback hat. This was new with tags, like new old stock. That sold for $99.99. That did come from an auction. Felix the Cat is definitely, people collect Felix the Cat. I feel like it's one of those characters that are all harder to find. I sold a Dermablend leg body cover up for $19.99. That came from one of the beauty trays that I won at an auction. Next was a Fisher-Price terry cloth pig rattle toy that sold for $99.99. This came from a flea market, no lie. I got this at a flea market for like $1, and the next week Eric and I went to the flea market, and I told Eric, I was like, I will poop my pants if like I go back to the stand that I found that pig rattle toy and find another one. And lo and behold, there was another one there. It's like, I guess they thought like, oh, well, I sold my last one. I'll throw this one out this week. So that was amazing. So I've sold that same pig rattle toy twice for $100. I also sold an Avon 2 peas in a pod plush for $12.99. I think that came from a yard sale. Next was a floral pansies. This was a canvas needlework kit that sold for $25.99, and I think that also came from a yard sale. I sold a recycled golf club bird for $29.99. I found this at an auction. I just thought it was really cool. It was just a metal art sculpture made out of like recycled golf pieces. I sold a pair of Rydell roller skates for $69.99. Those did come from a yard sale. Next was a postcard. This was of the Shoe Wizard House. It was basically a building shaped like a shoe. It still stands. It's not very far from me. I think it's like right before you would get to Lancaster, or right outside of Lancaster, around like the Hallam area. I actually did go to it. They were for a long time offering tours, but you couldn't take pictures inside, which was dumb. So I don't have any pictures of the inside, but I did take a tour of it. Now they turned it into an Airbnb, so you can stay there now. So they don't do tours, but you are able to stay in the house, so that's kind of cool. But it sucks that you can't do tours now. Anyway, that sold for $4.99. I also sold a June and Hudson top for $15.99. And I also have a cobalt blue cake stand that sold for $39.99. Trying to think of where I got that. Probably at an auction. The last thing that I wanted to share with you, I sold a Bob Gouge. This was for the parakeets. You've probably seen this recently in one of my haul videos. This was purchased by a subscriber named Lauren, and I wanted to shout out her kids. So I wanted to say hi to Keely, Addison, and Liam. So hi you guys, hope you are all doing well, and I also want to thank Lauren for her purchase. So that is pretty much everything for this haul. I did want to, because I have something that I wanted to talk about eBay related. I feel like it's kind of been a while since I had something to really talk about at the end of a CHING that was necessarily eBay related. So let's see here. eBay's rules, eBay's guidelines, they change all the time. And they're sometimes difficult to understand as well. So I sell a lot of perfumes, you guys know that, and I never had any issues with selling perfumes. Even used perfumes, I never had issues. eBay has a category of collectible, they have a collectible perfume category. And in that category, they have an option to list as used. So, you know, you used to be able to just list any perfume, whether used or new, in the health and fragrances perfume category, no problem. Then eBay made it where you couldn't sell used perfume anymore. So, but they still had this other category where you could clearly list a perfume as used. So most people were just listing in that category any used perfumes that they had. And for the longest time, there was never an issue because, well, they gave us the option to list as used. Well, lately, I have been hearing, and I have been like seeing some comments about it too, like, how do I list used perfumes? Other people can't list used perfumes. And my understanding was that maybe they were listing them in the wrong category. Maybe they had a used perfume and they were listing it in the perfume category as new because that's the only option to list, when it should be listed in the collectibles as used. So I just kind of assumed that they had it in the wrong category and that's why their listings were being removed. And I've been seeing this a lot here lately, like on the Facebook, eBay groups and stuff like that, of people saying that they're having their perfumes taken down and they didn't understand why. So I'm just in my mind thinking, well, they might have listed it in the wrong category and that's probably why. Well, lo and behold, eBay removed some of my used perfumes, and I was kind of like, what is going on? So I messaged them to get like the scoop, like what are we supposed to do as far as used perfumes? Are they definitely not allowed? Because why do they have a used option in the collectibles category if, you know, you're not allowed to sell used perfume, period? So I messaged them last night and tried to get to the bottom of everything. And in the meantime, I had taken down every single one of my perfume listings that wasn't sealed in a box or didn't have a box. So what I heard from eBay as far as perfumes go is you can list perfume that is new in the perfume category if your box is sealed, or essentially it's new with a box, because you have to have an ingredients list with the perfume. So if the perfume doesn't have an ingredient list, then they essentially could take it down. Like, you need the ingredient list for whatever reason. That's their new way of how they're doing things. So that's if you're listing in the new category. As far as the collectibles category, I was told that the only way you can list a used perfume in the collectible category is if your bottle is completely empty of its contents. So absolutely, like, no perfume in the bottle at all. That's like the only way you can list it in the collectibles category, which makes no sense, because if you're listed in the collectibles category, why have the option to even list as new or used? Who's listing new perfume in the collectibles category? You would just list it in the regular fragrances category, right? I don't know. But regardless, so I had to take down a lot of my perfume listings because I don't want to get in any kind of trouble with eBay. You guys know I sell a lot of perfumes, so it sucks, but there are other platforms where you are allowed to sell perfumes and used perfumes. So I will just be listing all of those listings on other platforms. So it's a shame that eBay doesn't want that money, because you'd think they, like, I do really well with selling perfumes, so you'd think that they're making bank off of people who are selling perfumes, And like I said, just their rules and guidelines are sometimes like they change constantly, and also they're just very confusing at times. Back when I first started using eBay, you were even allowed to sell used makeup, which obviously you can't anymore, but that was something that I used to make bank off of that too. And a lot of people didn't care about buying used makeup. A lot of it can be sanitized and people collect it, or makeup artists use it and then reuse it after they sanitize it on clients. Like, it's not anything that disgusting in my opinion. If someone wants something for like their collection or own personal use type of thing, but obviously they got rid of that. But yeah, it's just a constant changing of their rules and stuff over time, and just very confusing. Like, I had to message them a couple of times yesterday because I was getting answers like, it has to be in its original container. Obviously, I mean, all of the perfumes that I sell are. I don't decant anything. And then they just kept going on about the ingredients and how it needs to have the ingredients. And then I was like, well, what about body sprays? Can you sell body sprays still? Like, body sprays don't come in boxes, you know what I'm saying? So again, they said new body sprays are fine, just not used. So there's that. So that was a little upsetting to see, but I did see that people were having issues, and my thought process was that maybe they were listing in the wrong category. Well, turns out I'm wrong too, that you can't even list used perfumes in the collectibles category anymore. So I think they're just like taking it day by day and like going through and just beep, 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 like taking down, as many as they can. So if you have anything listed, I would definitely take your listings down, because they'll give you a warning first. You're not going to get in trouble the first time that they take your stuff down, so don't be concerned about that. It would be like if you would continuously do it, then you would get like a 3-day suspension on your account. But definitely I would consider taking down anything that you have that's used if you have any perfumes listed currently. So it sucks because I love selling perfume. I just sold one yesterday. It was new, but yeah, so now when I find them, I'm still gonna pick them up regardless if they're used. I'm not gonna sell the used ones on eBay, but I will probably be posting all of my used perfumes on Mercari as of now, because they do allow it. Which is another thing I don't understand when it comes to these selling platforms, how everyone is so different. Like, you can do one thing on one platform, but you can't do it on the other. It's mind-boggling sometimes. But yeah, that's just what I'm going to do with the ones that I currently have. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about. It was mainly like the perfume situation. So you'll probably still see some perfumes in my CHINGs that I do. These are slightly older CHINGs. I'm still trying to get caught up with my CHING. So if you do see one like you did in this CHING video, it's just older. So that's the reason why I have sold used perfumes. And like I said, for the longest time, no issue, until recently this has become an issue with eBay. Like, they changed the rules or something, because I mean, I've been selling used perfume for literal years on eBay with no issues, and now we're in 2023 and now it's a problem. So there's that. But anyway, that's pretty much everything that I have to share with this CHING. So let me know what you thought down in the comments, and I will see you next time.